Girl, what does selflessness after 30 years of marriage look like for you? I want your thoughts on that. Like, what does selflessness look after 30 years in marriage?
It looks like compromise. It looks like just not always having to have your way for the sake of the union, for the sake of peace. Peace is major.
Okay, give me an example of how you were selfless when you first got married versus how you are selfless now.
That's gonna be hard because I was way selfless. I was less selfish when I first got married than I am now.
That's honest, Kim.
I mean, a simple thing. For instance, going to the store, buying food. When I would go, and it's mental too. When I would go into the store before, it's all about what everybody else wants. To the fact that if I had $50 and I spent the whole $50 on what everybody else wants and no dollars on what I want, I don't do that anymore.
Okay. What has changed for you?
I just have had a paradigm shift where if you're in a marriage or any kind of situation that's relational and you've been not for yourself, and mostly, especially with kids, and then after kids or before, is a husband. Time is a thing. Always, everybody else's, what they're doing with regard to time, and then yours falls back. It either doesn't exist or it's a short amount of time so that you get to do anything.
That's interesting. I think my selflessness is guarded now, considering this is my second marriage. It's guarded. What do I mean by that? When you have I was a giver and you have a taker, and you always have someone who always takes, it gets exhausting. Yeah, you know what I mean? And giver. Yeah, and I think us as givers, we can give to a point where we deny ourselves to the point of exhaustion. Yeah, and even like start questioning, like, well, who am I in this marriage? Like, where is my identity in this marriage? You know,
you can hold on to it.
Yeah,
but then it's gonna come out, especially when your children leave the house.
Yes. And I think that was a shift for you, probably, right?
That was a real big shift.
It's like you reclaiming your identity, kind of like reclaiming your time. Yes, reclaiming your identity because you sacrifice so much. Yeah, and so I told myself, luckily, I will say now with this marriage, both of us are givers. So it makes that quid pro quo compromise work. Yeah. So I definitely think, as women, we just really have to do that assessment to know who we're doing life with before we do life. Because if there's not a give and take on both sides, you will feel exhausted.
And if one starts to want to be more of a giver, and they haven't for this period of time, we talking for me, we coming up on 40 years. Then you are learning at the end, the person that had been being a giver is a little suspect. It feels a little
it feels like, who are you?
Is this real or Memorex?
Right. I mean, is this authentic?
Yeah.
Is this genuine?
Even if it's learned behavior, the sooner you learn it, the better.
Yes.
The sooner you learn how to be a sharer and a giver and, all of that, the better. And, my situation, I'm married to a pastor, so a lot comes before in minister spouses. Either one. Whichever one is the spouse. There's a lot of people involved that your spouse has to care about, And so sometimes it might even feel like you are some notches down under the whole institution of the church that they are being responsible for. So that's a whole nother level.
Dynamic.
Yeah,
so what I hear you say is assess who you're going to spend the rest of life with, so you know their how their character shows up and how that might impact their selflessness.
And
so
don't disqualify the potential either.
Right. Okay.
So because a lot of people at 30, they're still developing. You know, a lot of people at 30 are still developing into who they really want to be. You know, they're still getting past that little 20-year-old hurt that happened. You know, some people that got married at 20 and now divorced at 30, and they're having to go through that. So there are other dynamics that you have to take into consideration. Yeah, you cannot know a person thoroughly. Period. You just can't. And people change over the years.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think for the Christian marriage, since that's who we are. The potential for change and growth and relying on the Holy Spirit to help us is there. So we can't disqualify that.
Okay. So assess the relationship, leave room for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And finally, remember your value as well.
Remember your value.
Okay.
You have to remember your value.
All right.
Even if it's delayed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, bye, girl. Bye.